Hi there, my name is Angela. I'm a mother to an autistic child and I'm an RDI consultant here at Awesome Match Autism Service here in Chilliwack, BC. One of the things I wanted to discuss a bit about is more for our local people here in Canada, specifically in BC, talking a bit about the funding option as well as some things that you may not know about when it comes to what's available for your child. Most people know that once your child is diagnosed, they have access to funding here in BC, which is called your AFU money. So that funding is available to any child under the age of 18 who has been diagnosed with autism. Now, the difference is children from 0 to 5 have access to $22,000 a year, where children, once you turn 6, you drop that funding from $22,000 a year to $6,000 a year. So I guess the idea behind it is since you're now school aged, they feel that a lot of the therapeutic value is being done in the school system rather than you having personal one-on-one therapies. Once your funding drops down to $6,000, it makes it really hard to navigate. You were once able to do maybe 3 sessions of your behavioral intervention in a week, or you were able to see SLP, which is speech language pathologist, or an occupational therapist for OT. You are now only maybe able to do one of those once a month and then maybe see a BI once a week. So it can be really tough to manage. So that's why I personally recommend RDI, because you put the funding in the beginning. For a year, you're focused on RDI as a parent. You're learning these techniques so that you can implement a lot of these things at home and then therefore become your child's best therapist. It's maybe worth a larger initial investment, but you'll have the long-term gain. Anyways, that's a different podcast. Today we're talking about the funding again. So with the funding, there's also, depending on severity and how much supports your child needs, you can also apply for at-home funding. One of the things that is sometimes glossed over when parents are in that initial diagnosis phase, they're getting thrown information from everywhere. There's something called a disability savings plan, your disability tax certificate. What will happen is you will need a doctor to fill out your disability tax credit certification, and that's a T2201. And once your doctor is able to fill this out, you can submit it to the CRA and wait for approval. It's quite a lengthy wait, but I promise you it is worth it, because not only does your child now, once they get approval, you will have access to receiving the disability tax credit, as well as your child will now receive the disability child benefit. And so those are 2 extra financial things that can help you as a parent. When you do get approval for this, your child will then be able to apply for a registered disability savings account. And a lot of people don't know about this program. It's very much glossed over. And I would say it's probably potentially one of the biggest things that as a parent you can do to help your child prepare for later down the road. What I mean by that is it's essentially considered their retirement savings. So I guess the BC or the Canadian government understands that people that are disabled, they may not be able to hold a job, a full-time position or full-time work as easily as someone without a disability. And so therefore, they won't be contributing into CPP as much as the rest of the Canadian citizens. So what that means is that by the time they turn 65, they may not be able to access much in the way for their retirement. So this is a program that there's many banks that are qualified to set this account up. So I would suggest you go into your local bank, whoever you deal with, and talk to them about it, and they can start getting that process going. But what you are essentially doing is you are putting in money now and letting it grow. By the time that they get 65, they will have hopefully a good little nest egg to rely on. The great part about this, and it's a very complex situation, I'm very much simplifying it, but it's based on income, your household income. And if you are under a certain threshold, I believe it's about 93,000 Canadian, you can, if for every maximum of $1,500 you contribute, the government will also contribute 3 times that amount. So you contribute $1,500, the government will contribute $4,500. So therefore, in 1 year's time, your child now has $6,000. I don't know about you, but for me, I love free money. And so I have set this up for my own son, and it has been growing amazing. That said, you can also back pay. So they will also back pay up to 10 years, I believe. So even though now you're making X amount in the last 10 years, if you were making under that threshold, you could get potentially more to contribute to be able to receive that full dollar amount. For families that maybe can't afford to even contribute that $1,500 initial amount, there's also the option to apply for, I believe, $1,000 bond that can be put right in to the disability savings account. So definitely worth looking into. It is a process, but it's short-term pain for long-term gain, especially to ensure that your child is having options and being taken care of down the road. One of the other things that a lot of parents don't realize is that through your autism funding that you receive, whether it's for a child under 6 years old that's receiving the full $22,000, or the child over 6 that's only receiving the $6,000, you have the ability to access 20% of that total amount and use that towards supplies, equipment, whatnot. So for a lot of families, it can be really helpful if maybe your child could really use the supports of an AAC device or a tablet, a computer to help with social interactions, or maybe some occupational therapist kind of toys or tools like a Yogi Bow, which is like a giant kind of beanbag for deep pressure. These can all be done through the use of using a JFE, which is a justification form for equipment. You would need a specialized person to fill that out. So for under 6, that person does need to be RASP approved. So an occupational therapist can fill out the form for a child who's, say, needing that sensory tools or the Yogi Bow, as I mentioned. For, say, something for an AAC device, a speech therapist, an SLP, they would be the ones to fill out the justification for equipment form. And that could be then submitted to the AFU, the Autism Funding Unit, and they will then approve it, and you can then go purchase the item, and then they reimburse you. So it's definitely worth looking into if you think your child could benefit from some of the equipment. Talk to your occupational therapist or your SLP to see if there's any equipment that you think that would be beneficial for them. I would also suggest taking a look online through the BC government website to see what is included. Sometimes there's those gotcha moments where a family thinks, oh yeah, trampoline. I'm going to buy my child a trampoline to help with regulation, for the ability to handle their emotions or whatever they need it for. And then they go out and buy it, and then they find out that, oh, AFU doesn't actually cover trampolines. So just be very mindful of before you purchase the item to make sure that it is actually approved. Okay, and finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about was the Canada Caregiver Credit. So this is a credit that parents can apply for on their taxes that just allows the child, or allows you to claim that your child, you're supporting your child, and it's just an extra little thing that we as parents who all need whatever help we can get. So make sure that you do apply for that credit on your taxes. So hopefully this has been really helpful. Hopefully you've been able to take something out of this that you didn't know before. I definitely recommend that you look into the child tax credit, getting that or the disability tax credit, sorry, getting that figured out, applied for, and it's definitely worth it. I know it is quite the process, but it's so worth it in the end. So good luck with navigating this. There's lots of things out there that are definitely available to this autism community. So take the time, look into it, and yeah, stay awesome.